What's that?
You've been busy, right?
I have.
You know when the next forum meeting is? You know when the next forum, CPO meeting is?
CPR one?
Yeah.
It's always on the first Tuesday. We just had it.
Oh,
Are you not on the email list?
yeah, but I forgot.
Oh, you give me your email. I do a schedule thing, so I do a reminder every month.
Oh, yeah.
Write it in all caps, so I'll be able to. I've learned.
Spell my own name. What they put in that anyway?
And the guy said, you show me an organization, bylaw, I'll show you a guide organization.
Well, I never worried about it. Curious about the organization. I always call it a forum, a group of people wanting to get together and listen to candidates. These businesses, these members,
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I do too. Yeah, I can tell you. And that's part of it, that I found enough people that know that. I know the backstory of most of what's going on. After 10 years, I
That's all it is. We've been working on these for 3 years. Spent a lot of time, but the last corporation
as much as I would the article
Well, hello everybody. How are we doing? How are we doing? Are we doing okay out there? I know we phone called everybody in this Discouragement over the weekend. And there is a quorum today. I know this is a very good attendance, and this is our business meeting. This is where we nominate new officers, and we've got Bill Foster and Bruce Miller in here, and Bruce Miller is the former president of this organization, and he did a great job. Wasn't indicted for anything, and most of the money was there when he was done, so we think Bruce did a heck of a job as president. Actually, Bruce and I know each other very well, and I can kid him because we go back a long ways. The forum, as you know, has some bylaws that we're amending, and one of the reasons is Rod Bonnell and Bob McMiniman years ago devoted their time and gave us some really pretty good ones, but the laws have changed a little bit since and that was a generation ago. And one of the things an organization has to do if it's tax exempt and is make sure it complies with the law. And so Phil Nilsson has been working for a long time, and I've been critiquing his work, and we've got things that we believe comply with the law. We had a little controversy on one of the provisions with regard to questioning, we've modified it. And so the first thing I want to do is bring the articles up, and we have we're going to have a motion, but again, the purpose of the bylaws was to make them current and to use the proper legal terms. There's classes of individuals in corporations, and we are a corporation, officers and directors, and they have different distinct responsibilities. And one of the things that the Department of Justice in the state of Oregon asks us every year is to certify that we're complying with the law. And so one of the first things that has to happen is our articles have to comply with the law and bylaws. So we've tried to do that. And we've also got a lot of comment from individuals, particularly on one section which we've modified. And I'm going to entertain a motion, and I'll read the modified bylaw, and then we'll vote on it. So if we have a motion from the committee chair, and it doesn't need a second, but we'd like a second just for the record. But I call on Phil Nelson.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming today, and we have a quorum, which is a requirement of 25 members, and our committee on the bylaws has included John Tyner and Ann Madden, Vince Neguch, John Hutzler's pitched in and helped, and we've had a number of meetings and have presented bylaws to the board, and there was discussion at the board level, and then the board moved ahead and put the bylaws before you for a vote today. There's been some discussion about the clause, section 3 of Article 2 of these proposed bylaws, and the board has approved a modification to the earlier draft. And the way it reads in the second sentence of this is, only individual members and the voting and non-voting representatives of organizational members shall be allowed to question speakers during member programs and shall exercise common courtesy and respect for others. The common courtesy and respect for others is the same thing we have in the provision that pertains to the board meetings also. So I want to move, and I do move, that the bylaws as proposed, as amended in the second sentence of section 3 of Article 2, be approved by the members of the Washington County Public Affairs Forum. And I ask for a second.
Second?
It's been seconded and moved. John, turn it over to you.
For the record, Eric Squires seconded. And this is the time for discussion. So, yes.
I'm still not clear on what it's being changed from and what it's being changed to.
What we had is we had an operational bylaws that worked for a long time for us. And what we found out when we reviewed them starting, I think 4 years ago, before I was on the board, was that they didn't comply with the Oregon Corporations Law related to nonprofit corporations. And so Phil Nelson, who was a lawyer in private practice for I think 45 years in Grants Pass, and he was our secretary at the time, took a shot at amending them. And then they were sort of not moved by any board, not much board action. Then a committee was created to review them and amended them. And essentially, there were 3 lawyers on the board. Hutzler is legal trained. I'm a lawyer, and Phil's a past lawyer, and Vince Gooch is a lawyer. And we looked at those over a period of time. They were actually prepared to go to the board of the body last year, but they didn't for one reason or another. So we took another look at them, and the committee reviewed them again, redrafted them, sent them out for publication and comment, and we got comment, plenty of comment. And in response to the comment, we modified those, and the board adopted the current draft, and we're just having the body accept the amended draft of the bylaws. There's no major changes in it. It clarifies the legal standards by which we operate. And we had an annotated form which showed all the statutory sections of the Oregon Revised Code that they related to. We took out all those things several editions ago because it made it almost 25 or 30 pages. So that was for illustration only. I'll take John first, and then I'll work back to Ann. Then work. Pardon?
We do. I
Yeah.
was just going to do it the microphone for that deal.
Okay, well, since we have a lot of comment, but when we proceed in this manner, we'll proceed from the microphone as we usually do. So if you have comments, why don't we go to the microphone, and I'll call on Kathy Stanton first.
Thank you, Kathy Stanton, foreign member. This is an answer to, I forget your name. I can't. Virginia, sorry, Virginia. For those who did not take the time to go through the bylaws, the section that came to us in the body over email or in the mail added more stringent requirements to the chair or appointed delegate to make sure that we remember to be polite and courteous. And this language takes it to the more general, this is the way we operate. Okay.
So are we gonna go through this amendment by amendment and vote on it?
No, no. And this is my question, and I know that you like to do things by the book. In order to do it by the book, you need to do a motion on the main body. Once that is seconded and discussion, then someone can make an amendment to change it. You can't pass it as amended until it's been amended.
Well, actually, you can, if it's a committee report, Bill, this is a report from a committee that doesn't even need a second. What we did to save time was we had the board motion incorporated as one with the amended language. And basically, under Robert's Rules of Origin, a report or from a committee and adopted by the board comes with necessary section and in the mode that it went to the board. So I think we can under Robert Rules of Order. If anybody other than Kathy has a specific section of Robert's which prohibits us from doing so, or if Kathy has that section, I'll listen to it. But I think I'm fairly solid ground that under Robert's Rules of Orders that we can do it, act in that manner. We can, however, the body gets the choice. If you want to bring it forward in the manner and then do the amendment later, we can. So just for a second, let's have a view of the House, and if we have to divide the question, we will. But what we've done is the board has sent the full articles and with the proposed amendment before the body to vote on it. If the body wants to separate that and vote separately on the two issues, then we can do that. But first, let me see a show of hands if the body wants to accept the board motion as amended in the motion, or they want to proceed in the manner Kathy proceeds. Those in favor raise their hand. Okay. Those opposed raise their hand. Okay. The motion carries and we're prepared to vote subject to comment. John.
Does it state elsewhere in the bylaws that questions are restricted to members only?
Yes, and that has been the custom for at least, Bruce, you can correct me. Bruce, are you here? Bruce Miller? Well, at least from the time I was on the board back 30 years ago, that was in there, and it was in there because we wanted to encourage board membership. At a time when board membership, I think it was 20, 15 or 20 bucks. If a person wanted to ask a question, they kicked in 15 or 20 bucks to ask the question. Yes, Barbara.
I think we all want to be polite and courteous, but isn't that a subjective thing? What might be polite and courteous to one person might be inflammatory to someone else. How is that determined?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Basically, it is subjective. I think it's going to be subject to the body, to the president and the body as a whole. And I think if it doesn't offend, us and servers and any animals in the vicinity, it's probably going to be okay. Yes, anyone else? Well, this time the motion's been moved, seconded, and it's before the body is amended. I would ask that all in favor raise their right hand.
What is the motion?
The motion is to adopt the amended bylaws and as presented by Phil Nelson and mailed out and emailed out in the last couple of months. All those in favor raise their right hand. All those opposed? They pass unanimously. Thank you. It's good to be doing business at a modern level. And the next thing we have is you've probably seen this. This is just the case. This is basically, as usual, the nominating committee nominated a slate of officers and directors. And some of the names are familiar, people want to serve again. We have Ted Calori as a director for 2016, Al Falcone as a director for 2015. For treasurer, our former president, John McWilliams, and Phil Nelson wants to return as secretary after a gap of time. Patricia Mayberry has been nominated for second vice president, and Catherine Stanton has been nominated as first vice president, and the committee nominated Eric Squires as president. Let me first ask, are there any nominations from the floor? We usually don't have any because you usually vet these by talking to members fairly commonly. Is there a motion from the floor to adopt the slate from the nominating committee? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the recommendations of Ted Calori to fill the new director's spot, Al Falcone to continue as director, treasurer John McWilliams, secretary Phil Nelson, second vice president Patricia Mayberry, vice president Catherine Stanton, and president Eric Squires. All those in favor, assent by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing no no's, basically we've adopted this slate. Now, by our bylaws, we have to have a meeting after the new board and the past president. My term actually ends the moment the meeting ends in about, let's see, in about 46 minutes. So that time all my power is stripped from me and I'm just another member. But in any event, at this time we have a program. We didn't know exactly how long this would take, so we invited some financial professionals to come and give us a little presentation. And we have Bruce Miller, who I see is still chewing, excuse me, somebody's waving something back to me. I've forgotten something apparently.
We need to do a brief treasurer's report.
Oh. One of the closest bonds we have is membership in their money. So we have to account by the rules for have to have a treasurer's report. Do you want to come up and our newly elected second vice president is going to give the report on the treasury. And for all of those who know, I actually signed the checks, but I've never physically possessed the checkbook. So any of those holidays you've seen taken have been at my expense, not yours.
Thank you. Welcome and thank you for coming today. We appreciate it. There are copies of the operating statement and balance statement sheet on the back table if you so choose. But I'll briefly review it and then... Can you hear me now?
Better.
Is that better? Okay. There are copies of the operating statement and balance sheet on the table in the lobby. But I'll quickly review this so we can hear our speakers, and if you have any questions, you can ask me later or get a copy of the statements. Basically, our membership dues brought in $5,185. Our meal revenues, not including today, and this is for the period July 1st, 2012 through June 3rd, 2013. Meal revenue has been $838 for a total income for the forum of $6,023. Expenses paid include cable TV's first payment of $19.90, general liability insurance of $216, equipment and equipment repair $664, printing $107, postage $236, office expense items $141, our website $108, our PO box $60, bank charges $90, annual reports to the state $50, tax preparation $150, taxes paid $10, and marketing ad $77 for total expenses of $38.99, which gives us a net income of $21.26. Our membership dues came from 13 standard members at $60, 56 members preferring email at $55, 4 sustaining mail members at $80, 1 sustaining email at $75. We have 4 organizations paying $120, and 3 organizations paying $150 for a total of $51.85. On our cash assets. We have a money market account of $3,000, a checking account as of before this day, does include meals today, of $3,799 for a total amount of $6,799. Our fixed assets include furniture and equipment, $695, much of which is video that we've seen, and sound system of $1,748 for a total of $244.43. Our total assets are $9,242 with no liabilities owing except what we'll owe for our lunch today. Okay, any immediate questions? And there are copies again in the lobby if you wish to review the details.
Thank you for your excellent work, Patricia.
Thank you very much.
I was just curious about the cable TV
I'm sorry?
expense.
I'm sorry?
The cable TV expense.
That was from the finish of last year that we owed $1,880 with
For
Eric's
what?
to record it so that it goes on county TV.
Oh, okay. I thought it was subscribing to cable.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, okay. The expenses of producing.
Yes, and that would have been much higher this year except for Eric and Joseph's work on doing the recording for us.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to do a state of the forum thing, but I'm going to turn it over to you in a second before we put our program on. I want everyone to introduce themselves, say how long they've been a forum member, and what their hopes for the forum are. So while you compose your thoughts and chew your food, let me just give a state of the forum. We, Esther inherited a kind of a transitionary period of time. A lot of the things that had been going on in the forum stopped working last year, the year before last, and we were trying to get the afford the cable program, and we were constantly under the gun for finances. And as you remember, our first vice president, who was going to be Esther's assistant in the process, quit in October once he looked at the financial situation and where we were. And your second vice president, myself, became first vice president, and we kind of muddled through, and like membership lists weren't clear. We had to we had some of our key financial documents weren't accessible. What we did over the last year was we found a secure place for our documents. There were the fire district over on 209th. We were able to pay off the last of the cable bills for services from last year. In June of this last year, the forum didn't have a membership list that was accurate, didn't have adequate records, and basically had $123 net in the account aside from the money market, which is the life savings of the forum. So the board has done a great job in turning things around. The political season helped us because we had good attendance during that, but there's a fundamental problem with the forum, and that's what I want people to think about in addressing their comments. The fundamental problem with the forum is that every year 4 or 5 members die. We're aging out, and over the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, that's 20, 25 people who regularly attended, regularly participated. And we have to find the viability that allows the forum to survive and perform its core function, which is informing people of Washington County about the relevant issues in the county and giving them a forum to discuss those issues so we have the participation that we need to make things go. Eric Squires is a former CPO 6 chair, and he boosted attendance there, made CPOs relevant in the county again across the board. Bruce Bartlett is here, he's a CPO's leader also, and Bruce is one of the folks who's trying to revitalize grassroots folks. A number of folks are here from political parties and other organizations. Finding people who are interested and informed to be citizens is more difficult today, and all of you I've seen in numerous capacities of volunteers throughout the years. And we have to find out, is there a viability in this form of communicating with folks such that people will show up? And that's the essential mission of the thing. So the state of the forum is, we're back, we have a membership list we can go in, we're financially viable, we found a way of talking to folks. People like Gary Olson, who have done so much of our outreach. We're trying to find a new forum. Maybe it's electronic, maybe we don't actually physically go anyplace to do these meetings, maybe they're done online, Skype. I still like the form of doing this. I like being a spaghetti factory. I like we're going to try to experiment next year with the Peppermill and some other places, and even moving this forum around various places to increase attendance. But we have a serious problem when we've had as little as 15 or 20 people here on a program or two. So we don't want to age out. We want to stay relevant. We want to stay the participatory body that we have. I looked back, and when Bruce was president of the organization, and actually I'd like all past presidents to mention that fact when we introduce you. Why don't you stand, all past presidents stand right now so we can get a sense of who's here, past presidents, I mean. And I'd like to thank you all for your service. Not surprisingly, these are the folks we turn to recently when we need assistance. So, and Pat Wheeler's wife Maureen also was a president, past president. She works with the school district. She claims that she's the only, that's the only husband and wife duo of presidents. I think she's right. In any event, summarizing, when I came on the board, we had 215 to 250 active dues paying members. We were the only act in town. The chambers weren't that functional as far as membership stuff. We had huge meetings, people fought to get on. It was the focus and the locus of all public affairs in the county. I think that was true when you were, Bruce, you were chair. And the West Side Economic Alliance, some of the other things have sort of cut into our membership and our et cetera. But I'd like to start with the person who's most recently finished chewing. No, someone who's actually finished. I think I'll start with Bill Foster, and then we'll just work down the line and work back through, and just to say a few words and about who you are, and what your relation to the forum is.
Bill Foster, Beaverton. Who are you? Who are you? Bill Foster.
That's good enough.
Lee Hunt, Beaverton, been a member since about 61, 2, and I think it's a good opportunity for people to get together and hear candidates and listen to people talk about issues. I haven't been coming as frequently lately because getting older and harder to drive and so forth, but I think it's a good organization, ought to be kept alive.
Please stand up just to project a little bit. Give them candidate. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but.
Ernie Foster, I think it's a good idea to be able to meet the candidates for election and all the other issues that we've had.
I'm Maureen Long, and I'm in unincorporated Washington County. So I like to come to the meetings to find out what's going on around the whole county. And I appreciate the fact that we have good officers that are, it's difficult, I think, to find new members. Every group that I belong to is having the very same problem of decreased membership and wanting to get more members. So it isn't unique with the forum here.
Jim Cape, Cedar Hills.
Yeah, Sylvia Dabbs from Tiger. I'm in Tiger for a business in Washington. I've been a member for about 20 years, and I come because I want to keep current on what's going on in the county and the state.
It was either the late 80s or early 90s that I joined the forum. I enjoyed all the programming, regardless of the electoral season, and I'm first vice president next year. I live in Beaverton, incorporated Beaverton.
I'm Al Falcone. I have been a forum member for approximately 10 years from Aloha, and I would just like to see the crowds, we get better crowds when there's not politicians speaking. Sometimes you get a sparse crowd when it's off political season, so let's try to get people to come to the meetings other times when we don't have politicians speaking. Because the meetings are quite interesting from speakers in other areas and letting us know what's going on in the surrounding area here.
I'm Ellen Mae Perlman. I live in Helvetia. And once upon a time I was treasurer. You know, you get to write all the checks, but you don't get any money.
20 years.
And no, it hasn't been 20 years. I've only been a member 16 and a half.
secondly, the small technical suggestion. Would it be possible to send emails to all the members advertising each meeting with a little capsule? Instead of just the monthly newsletter, whatever it is.
So hi, I'm Brigitte Reisling, and I'm here representing the College, the Rock Creek campus. So Washington County is a big part of what we're about, so it's just an effort on the part of the college to stay connected to what's important to folks here in Washington County.
My name's Paul Sander. I'm kind of a new kid on the block, and then I joined just a few months ago at the invitation of John Tyner and Patricia Mayberry. And I reside in Cedar Mill, and I'm a CPA in Hillsborough. And I've enjoyed the membership so far. I mean, I've enjoyed coming to meetings that I've been able to attend, and I think it's a great organization. Thanks.
I'm Patrick Wheeler. I live in unincorporated Washington County, and I've been a member since 1982. I think when you want to get new members, you've got to understand what group you're trying to go after, speak their language, and build up a dialogue with them instead of just sending an email to them and say, come and join. And I think that when you start targeting those groups and build a dialogue with them, you're going to be able to increase your membership. Also, understanding and getting them to understand what the benefit of the organization is and what we do and why it's important to them. Not important to us, but it's important to them.
When were you president here? Does it say that? What year?
1990.
President 1990 of the forum.
Steve Weiss here, just 1 year later with Pat. He put me up to it and I got out of the room. But otherwise, pretty good time.
Hi, I'm Emily Nupp. I've been a member since 1970. And I was president sometime in the 70s, the first female president we had, and that was before the city club allowed women in as members. So, other than that, we've moved to a lot of different places, and the groups go up and down. I don't have any magic pill for solving it, but I think younger people are used to blogs and computers and not getting together to talk, and that's kind of sad.
I'm Ben. I live in the unincorporated city of Rock Creek. I look at some of the presentations, such as the one on the PERS. There are more facts there than I got from a similar presentation for an unnamed club that I'm also a member of that meets at noon downtown Portland. The presentations are excellent. What we don't have is a lot of young people. We don't have a lot of people, period. And most of you are plus or minus my age. I'm almost 70, although I look 20. What I propose is that the new board of directors or the new president commission a large group, moderately large group of members with very good shoes and occasionally a good cane to whack somebody with the back of the head on. And those people go out in the community and find relatively young people who are in management positions or responsible positions in our local companies, get them over here, get them to see if they feel comfortable with this, and bring them in as new members. It's not going to happen passively. It's not going to happen if we hope it's going to happen. It's not going to happen if we talk to our neighbors and say, you know, this is a good idea. We need to go out and physically recruit these people, which means we have to do the two things. Walk in there, you know, excuse me, can I speak to you for a half hour and tell them about the forum.
I'm Barbara Wilson. I live in Fullerton, and I've been a member off and on since the 1970s. One problem for a younger person who has a full-time job, and I've certainly found this out working at Intel, is that it's very difficult to get away from the desk Most of us take lunch when we can grab lunch. And it's just not easy to get here at 11:45 because the desk responsibilities require that you be there. So that's a major problem. I have been here when presentations have been deadly boring, and it discourages me from coming back again. I don't like PowerPoint presentations where somebody drones on reading the PowerPoint slides to me that I could read myself. I like a spirited discussion on something that's controversial so I can hear the pros and the cons and go away feeling enlightened. I love those kinds of discussions, and I'd like to see more of that. I would suggest, this is just my personal opinion, I do not like getting in my car and searching a new address for a new place for lunch. I want the same place every Monday. I get in my car, absent-mindedly drive down Highway 26. I know exactly where I'm going. I don't want to be wandering around trying to find it. It would discourage me from it. Thank you.
Gene Wilson, Beardy.
Phil Nelson, I've been a member about 7 years now, I guess. Ted Kalori got me involved in this. And, I've enjoyed serving as secretary before and looking forward to next year. And right now, the only thing I really am trying to do is write down what you're saying. So the ideas are great, and it's wonderful to hear your views. And I know we're all here because we support the forum, and we hope it will do well as we go forward. Thank you.
John Blackman, Southeast West Haven. I hope that the Speakers Bureau can try to get speakers from some of the small companies, either manufacturing or service, or even a group of attorneys to explain some of the workings of what's going on, because I find there's some small enterprises in Washington County that are fascinating if you actually knew about their very existence.
I'm Nellie Fox Edwards, and I've been around a long time. I don't even remember how many years now. I was a political activist in my working career. I still love to watch it, and I love the speakers that come here to talk to us about their issues and so on. So keep it going, guys. I can't drive anymore, but I still love to come here. I've known Kathy a long time, but I don't even remember how many years. But I love it, and I love the companionship that we have here, and it's been a good experience. Thank you.
Bruce Bartlett. I live in the Cedar Mill suburb of Bonnie Slope, which is thoroughly unincorporated. I also chair the Citizen Participation Organization #1, CPO1 in Cedar Mill, Cedar Hills. And I've found that holding an event where you expect people to come to you is, as we've all heard, very difficult to get people to show up. And so some way of taking this information to other groups so that they don't have to move, we move to them, might help address some of that. And the work that Eric's doing in getting this videotaped and on cable TV is the sort of thing that exposes what we do here to a much larger group than we would ever get to actually come here. So, like the Washington County Coordinating Committee has a lot of high-powered staff and elected officials, and they meet at the same time. And so we'll never get them here while our meetings overlap. So a way of disseminating the information, I think, is critical beyond just having people show up to the meeting.
Hi, my name is Bruce Miller, and I've been involved since 1984, and I'd like to introduce my guest, Ben Newell, who is an associate of mine, but more importantly, he's the type of person that we're all talking about. The kind of person that we need to get involved, the kind of person that I was way back in 1984. And I was relatively new to Oregon, and this was invaluable for me to learn about the community, and I would come every week. I can't come as much anymore because of my work, but you know, we need to get young people like Ben here involved in this kind of thing, get more energy.
I'll just say a quick word. I'm Ben Newell, and glad to be here as a guest of Bruce, and enjoy the food first and foremost. That'll attract young people out. It's good food. We can't afford good food. But yeah, I'm very excited to be here and just listen in on the forum today.
I'm Greg Oakes. I'm a guest here today. I'm in Beaverton.
Chris Leslie, Ian Blake, Steve Wise, with my being a member. And I really love the group in the sense that I am honestly be very courteous when I tell somebody they're a crook, or I disagree with them. And if I have my facts right, that's what this forum is. We can say our honest opinion of people and issues. Much like Barbara, though we disagree at times, but this is a forum for us to expand our knowledge and information. Thank you.
I'm Bill Kroger. I live in Beaverton. I've been a forum member for about 10 years now. I'm a retired public relations executive, and I'm a retired Army colonel. And I just had my 3rd short story published this month.
Yay!
I'm Lee Coleman from Aloha. If you want more attendance from younger people, you might want to investigate more interesting programs. And one of the places I would start is one of the neglected places, the Chamber of Commerce. You want to hear, I think, young business types want to hear what we want to hear from local businesses about what they're doing, or what their product is, or what their mission is. Up till now, we've heard from public organizations, NGOs, and so on. We want to broaden the interest by broadening the subject matter to commerce as well as politics.
I'm Ann Madden, thank you, Ann Madden from Cedar Mill, and I've been a member since the mid-90s. And I just was thinking of all the places we've been. The Shiloh, remember the Shiloh? And it's like, who had that idea? And then Cedar Hills with Miniman, and then the Old Country Kitchen, which was kind of cozy. We were so packed in there, and then they tore the place down. So then the Elks, and now here. And I just feel like I have so many friends here. I mean, you just come just to see people, actually. Just made some notes so I wouldn't forget what I wanted to say. I want to personally thank Pat Mayberry. When there was all this discussion of all the turmoil and the state of the records and the state of the finances, the person who really cleaned it up was Pat Mayberry. And I mean, if you don't know, she's a wonder. She's just a wonder. Okay, and you were asking, Dr. Bach, you are right, about emails. I do send an email to everybody every week, so if you're not on that list, I'm sad. Gary gives me the list, so we should talk to Gary. If you're not getting an email every week about what's going on, you should be. And I also do the press releases, so, but you know what's troubling nowadays in journalism, the reporters are so stressed, I mean, they have so much to do, they really don't come. Very seldom do they come. They do once in a while during the political season, but at least we try to get into their calendar. And speaking of Gary, I also would like some recognition for this man who has kept our website alive for all these years.
Yay, Gary!
You get your emails now through MailChimp. I mean, it looks a little prettier. Of course, it's very male. What can I say about that? But it's a little, has pictures, you know what I mean? And Gary figured that all out. And then finally, Lee had a great idea about the chambers.
How many people here have been through the leadership program of either the Hillsborough Chamber or the Beaverton Chamber? You know what I'm talking about? They're excellent year-long programs, once a month, where you just learn everything you ever wanted to know about Beaverton or Hillsborough and the wider community. I think we should reach out to those leadership programs and say, we'd like to get a shot at speaking to your members in the leadership class every year to let them know that this is an opportunity for them where they could carry on that very same sort of, with the good stuff they're getting out of leadership, they could continue to get something like that by joining the forum. All right.
Thank you, Ann.
I'm Gary Olson. I've been with the organization over 15 years. I'm hoping it survives. I kind of have my doubts.
Yeah, I'm Paul Oakes, and I've been a member for about 20 years, and my guest today is my son, Greg Oakes, who you saw a little earlier. I was a member since they were meeting in the basement of Mandela's.
Yeah.
So I see really familiar faces on that.
Hi, I am Esther McAlpin, and I have been a member for about 7, 8 years. And 2011, 2012, I was president of the organization. And, you know, we're evolving and going places, and I'm not sure where all this is going, but I think it will be good, and I'm really glad that we've come this far. Thank you.
I'm John Williams, and I have been with the forum since 2003. Since then, I've managed to get to be president with that around. And I also saw a lot of the difficulties that we're talking about. For very strong during the political season, that a lot of people come. Then it's tailed off because there were other programs. I would say it's because of the volume of the programs. It's just the fact that they're more diversified, and so they don't attract as many people as maybe the political scene does. I agree with the Chamber of Commerce. I would love to see the Chamber of Commerce be a member from not just one place, but from every place. So if anybody would like to go around and talk to the chambers and invite them, that'd be great. Because that's something that we haven't done, and I think you don't get people to come if you don't invite them.
My name is Rod Bunnell. I've been a member since sometime in the early 1980s. And as our president mentioned earlier, Bob McMiniman and I wrote the original articles and bylaws for the organization back some 20 years ago. And incidentally, he was a well-known attorney at the time, and his name became even more well-known as his son started all those records. I was general counsel for Blue Cross, so I have a lot of experience with nonprofit organizations. We spent a lot of time developing those documents. You might think that I'd be concerned to have people messing around with that hard work that we did. Just the opposite. I'm very, very pleased to see hardworking, competent people working on bringing the things that we did up to date. The law has changed, the community changed, the organization changes, and those documents need to change, and they've done a good job for us. I give them my thanks.
I'm Sally Bunnell, and I've been a member of the organization since the early 1980s. I became involved by reading about the organization in the Valley Times, and it sounded like a good place to learn about the people that actually, functioned in government, both state and local. And so, and the important thing that I think we need to think about in the future, that there's a lot more communication than looking at a TV and a little iPad or whatever. You have to go out and see the people that are making decisions and basically running the country. So I think our challenge is how do we involve the younger generation?
I'm Virginia Bruce, and I live up in Bonnie Slope down the road from Bruce Bartlett there. I'm a vice chair of CPO1, and I publish the Cedar Mill News. I believe very strongly that democracy requires an informed populace, and that's one of the functions of this group. I've heard some suggestions about Chamber of Commerce and business and stuff. It seems like the Westside Economic Group does a good job of that, and I think we need to focus on government. We can bring in everything that pertains to public affairs, but I don't know of any other group in the area that is focused on government, and I think that's where our focus needs to remain. I really believe in all of the forms of new media. I agree with Sally that you can't, there's only so far you can get with electronic media, and you do need to bring people in to talk face to face, but you can do a lot to engage them by using the various aspects of social media and online media, and that's where the young people are. It's not to say that we need to go totally online, but if you want to attract young folks to whatever it is you're doing, you have to have that media. I have noticed recently with the Cedar Mill News, many of my subscribers are more close to my age, but my Facebook page for the Cedar Mill News, the largest proportion of those are 30 to 45-year-old. So they are engaging with what I'm passing out on Facebook. And you know, they come to things because it appears over there. So it's not, I'm not saying take it all online, but use those methods to engage those people you're looking to engage with.
You can say something. I'm Joseph Tyner from Forest Grove.
I'll let Eric address this at the end. My good friend Bruce Miller is here to do a presentation. I told him to be a little careful that we're going to, I don't know how long we're going to run, but I'd like to invite Bruce up. Bruce is essentially an American hero, and one of the most honest person I've ever known. I've come to him in times of trouble in the past, and he's helped me. He's squared away. He's the kind of person who as an officer in the military, you would expect would have that type of those type of standards. And I told him we'd be a little squeezed. He's going to introduce Bill Foster at a certain point. He's going to provide a presentation. Bill's been a long time member. We shorted Bill and Bruce a little bit, but we had to do what we had to do here today. And I talked to Bruce prior to that, and Bruce said he was good with it as a former president. If you're not, you can, of course, kick me after the meeting. But Bruce.
Well, it is really a pleasure to be back here. It feels like old home week to see all these terrific folks, all my old friends here. It's just great. And at first I want to apologize. You know, I moved my office to the east side right next to Red Tail Golf Course, as far east in the county as you can get before hitting Multnomah. And so I apologize for my lack of attendance, but it doesn't mean I don't care about this group nor feel how worthwhile it is to our community. I certainly hope it continues in a vibrant way in the future. But I wanted to know, we were going to do a panel, and there's a couple things I'd like to talk about, but I'd like to know, Bill, what you'd like to discuss today.
A little bit about my background and why I'm up here. I've had a strong desire for years to not be worried about money in my old age and my wife's old age. And I wanted to leave some money to our church and children, and it's been more or less a vocation. I'm a member of the American Association of Individual Investors, and I'm just wondering, is there anyone else here that's a member of AAII?
I am, Bill.
Oh, you are? Okay. I've led financial planning and mutual fund monthly meetings for several years. I read books, magazines, and I've talked to other investors, and it has really paid off. My wife and I have visited 44, that's 4 foreign countries. Okay. Bruce, you wanna?
Yes, and I would second the motion. Probably the most extreme value would be the AAII, if you want to look it up on the internet. It's a tremendous group. They have great programs and great ideas for investing, so I would second that. So, but what I wanted to talk about was, we don't have a lot of time. So I want to just throw a few numbers at you, if I could. In 2008, of course, we had the financial crisis. I happened to be cruising in the Mediterranean when the stock market started to fall. And I was in Turkey over a 3-day period when the Turkish lira fell by 12% in a 3-day period. It was quite an experience, as we know what happened after that. The stock market fell by 37%. The international markets fell by 44%. And they didn't fare anywhere as well as we did, if you thought it was bad here. But then I want to tell you what happened. You know, Lehman went under, and we started this aggressive quantitative easing program in 2009. In 2009, our budget deficit ballooned from 2007, it was about $300 billion. In 2009, it ballooned to $1.6 trillion. Now, just to give you an example, that amount of money, 1-year deficit, equates to about $5,000 for every man, woman, and child in the United States. In addition, we started something called quantitative easing, and that's where the Federal Reserve decided to try monetary policy as a solution. So now we've got 2 programs going, and they're still going. We had QE1, quantitative easing 1, 2 came along in about 2010, and we just started quantitative easing 3 about 18 months ago. And what that is the Federal Reserve Bank, a quasi-governmental institution, is buying tremendous amounts of government bonds, trying to stimulate the economy, and in so doing has driven interest rates from a normalized interest rate, which you might have considered to be 5 or 6% 10 years ago, to near 0. Now, is there anybody out there living on fixed income? Those are the ones that really got hurt and continue to be hurt in this situation. However, it has gotten better, but I want you to know we're not out of the woods. This year, they estimated the deficit would be $800 billion, and they just revised it down to 600, which is because of increased tax revenues as well as improved growth. But that is still $600 billion, and it means that we're spending $2,000 per person, man, woman, and child per capita in the United States. Every child born is being born with a $2,000 debt just from this year's deficit. So we have some very serious issues out there. But the key one that I want to bring to you today, which will affect you currently and affect the investments you make, are that the government is buying $60 billion of U.S. government mortgages every month, every month of the year. And the problem is they've driven interest rates back to 0, but what happens when they have to quit buying, when they can't afford to quit buying? That's the #1 dilemma facing investors in this world today. How do you wean the government, the investors, off of this massive stimulus program that is going on? And every time there's a hint in the markets that the weaning is about to start, you'll see major drops in the stock market because investors have become so used to having the easy money, what they call the Bernanke put, whereby the market can only go so low before Bernanke will step in and buy more bonds and drive interest rates even lower. So every time you see the market drop by 200 or 300 points, you go look the next day and look at the financial articles and see what they're talking about. And I guarantee you for the next 6 months it's going to be quantitative easing and how we're going to wean ourselves off of this system. Another and second major problem is, what about interest rates? How are we going to get those fixed income people that are getting zero money on their fixed income, essentially, under 1%? How are we going to get that back up? And when we get it back up, what will be the implications to normal business? Bonds will cost more for corporations. So there's other implications with interest rates as well, and I would tell you that if you as an investor are in a long-term bond, I would say a 15-year bond or greater, you better think about getting out of that bond, because we've been in a wonderful investor situation for bonds over the last 10 or 15 years. Interest rates have come down tremendously, and as they have, you've seen your portfolios go up in value significantly. But what you're going to find is that as the interest rates start to normalize, start to go up, you're going to see the bond that you hold fall tremendously in value. Because right now you go out and get a 30-year bond at 4%. What happens when rates go to 8%? Who's going to buy your 4% bond? Nobody's going to buy it. So your bond will drop by probably a lot more than if you had invested in equities. It's quite possible right now that there's more risk in a long-term bond than there is in an equity position at this point.
That brings up two vital words in managing your own money. Would anybody care to, other than our illustrious speaker here, guess what those, or state what those two words are in terms of managing your own investments? I'll give you a hint. Each starts with the letter A. The answer is asset allocation. What percentage of your investments are in supposedly safe things, and what percentage is on volatile things like the stock market and other things? A former member of this group, Bill Weber, gave me the name of a fee-only financial planner. That person works for so much per hour and has your interest very much in mind as compared to a broker or someone that buys and sells stocks. And that person recommended for me, or for me and my wife, 70% in the so-called safe stuff and 30% in volatile like stocks and so forth. So here are some categories: cash, short-term U.S. bonds, intermediate-term U.S. bonds, long-term U.S. bonds, large company U.S. stock, small company U.S. stocks, large company international stock, and real estate. And there are various percentages recommended for each of those. So, would you like to comment now? Bruce?
Well, I commented on the long-term bond aspects of things, and asset allocation is something we practice, and what my company does is exactly, Bill, what you're talking about. And it's so nice to go into a financial advisor and to know that there's only one agenda on the table, and that's the agenda of the person sitting in front of me, as opposed to that some people do this in a terrific way, but as opposed to wondering if the person is giving you that idea because there's a commission involved. It's possible that the person can overcome the conflict of interest, but don't you always feel when you're standing in front of a salesperson that he might be talking about his agenda and not your agenda? So that's where fee-based comes into play. I want to give you my blog, if you want me to do a blog every day, millerfinancial.blogspot.com. And if you'd like, I can give you a card.
later on. But thanks for being here. It's been terrific for me, and thank you, Bill, for sharing it with me.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, folks, I'd like to introduce Eric Squires. And I thank Bill, and I thank my good friend Bruce Miller for being flexible in the schedule so we could get through our business meeting. So as they say, actually they don't say that very often. They used to say it in monarchies, but you know, here's a new king.
Hello, folks. We really owe a debt of gratitude to the volunteers of the forum. A couple that I'd like to point out especially is Joseph Tyner and Gary Olson. And I would gratefully ask that we give another round of applause for our past president, Mr. John Tyner. Two brief points. First, as we went around the room, I was in awe of the comments, and I've taken them to heart, and I would like to execute them successfully to the best of my abilities in the next forum season. With that, I'd like to conclude today's program and call the board meeting we are required by law in order to have. And thank you for being here. We had a poll last week.
We go back to the same time.
I didn't vote yet.
The only vote is on.
Okay. Let's go back on. Folks, as you're exiting, we'd like to ask you to hang around for a little bit, and we have a raise a hand question. Would you like to eat here or at the Peppermill? So folks, I'd like to take a poll of the forum. If you'd like to remain in this room next forum season, raise your hand. And I see 9 hands up. And if you'd like to move to the Peppermill, would you please raise your hand? We've had a committee working on this, and that's those are the two choices. It's about even. Okay, it's slightly in favor of the Peppermill. Eric at ericsquires.com. I'd like to hear your comments, the trajectories that we move towards the Peppermill. Kathy, do you want to address the body?
I know many of you last week were given a little piece of paper that said, pick one or the other or add another restaurant to the list. And I know there were some others that came out.
Quiet.
I think this is a conversation that that we should have, and not just as a piece of paper. Obviously, it's too late for that now. Comments I made earlier to the forum board apparently fell on deaf ears. Anyway, looks like it will be a decision by our new president who will determine or send out another poll. I don't care where we go because I come for the fellowship and the information, the presentations, although there are reasons why one place may be better than another for some of us. I hope you will consider options, and if you don't know where the Peppermill is, or what they serve, or how they do business, then I suggest you call myself, just because I've learned a little bit about it, or I'm going to say Esther McAlpin or Al Falcone, because both of them were on the committees that looked at different places, and they can tell you plus or minuses. I think it's important that we go somewhere that's convenient, and the food is good, and the sound system works. But I know now we don't have to worry about the sound system because we have a guru as our president when it comes to the electronic side of this. But do think about it. I think it's important that we like where we go. Thank you.
Thank you. We're concluded. Thank you. You're in charge of the tear down until I get back.
driving before, that's why.
Who's driving you today? Who's driving you today?
Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Usually Ruth Ann does.
Yes, there is.
We're gonna do a quick board meeting, so he'll come and get you real quick.
To see you.
I know.
We're doing a quick board meeting, then he'll run you home.
I did, yes. I thought that was very professional. I thought that's just like it.
Oh, you're such a sweetheart.
Yeah, but in this case, since we didn't have a conversation and vote.
Hey, my brother.
I got a few more pictures to take on my roll.
Get you out here in the hallway and capture some of these. Pardon?
Very nice.
wanna hear something really bad? As I was leaving, this older lady, she had an older sister with her, and she said to me, "Oh, I see you had a meeting. What was the meeting for your seniors for?"
Oh, yeah. It's, basically, the information about the county. You're welcome to attend.
That's what I told her. She was like, "Oh, I thought it was just for senior citizens." And she's older than me.
It just, actually, knowledge is kind of supposed to be shared. That's what this is all about, is the sharing.
But you know, I have friends and I keep trying to get them to come.
Yeah.
And they just said, "I have no interest." And this is during the political season. And you know,
That is the problem.
and
Yes.
not only that, then they read the little pamphlet that you get from the state, you know, the political thing. And that's all they read. They never go to.
The voters?
Yeah, they do the voters pamphlet. And you know, like the last time I was there, we had the one for the Hillsborough School District. This one lady was writing so good. She could put two sentences together that she couldn't understand. And you know, she won.
Well, that's, democracy does require an educated public. That's part of it. And
that's part of my problem right now, is we're not getting.
that is the major problem with the politics we've got going right now, is, basically, people are ignorant. And, ignorance can be helped, but it does take a little effort. You have to participate, and you've got to, keep your eyes open, and your ears,
And then to reason. After you keep your eyes and ears open, you have to reason for what you heard.
yes, then there's the important decision to make. What did I do? What did I believe? And does that make sense? It's
bad.
It is.
I couldn't believe it. She said, "What is that meeting for the seniors?" Were we that old?
It is a problem. And I think some of the suggestions about going to the Chamber of Commerce and having them come and be participants, that is one aspect that is definitely of value. But we also need spoke to social outreach with using the internet to engage a younger audience. And all this stuff is important to them. They just don't recognize it. And that's a problem.
Well, you know, I've always been, when I was treasurer, I used to get really upset with the huge amount of money we were sending for the video.
Yeah.
And I absolutely know no one that gets that service.
It's hard.
I mean,
you can't track who watches what's the production.
I mean, when I ask people if they have that service, in the area that I live, nobody gets that service, period.
So the cable access is not being accessed?
As far as I know, I'm sure that it is.
Yeah.
It's just that the people I know aren't accessing it. So I have no idea who's accessing it.
That's a problem. They can't really track.
And it's a lot of money that we as an organization. And when I first joined, they used to have it on the radio. And I had a lot of people that listened to it on the radio. You know, you can do your housework and listen to it on the radio.
Yes.
When it's TV, you gotta stop and watch.
You gotta be a more active participant, yeah.
Yeah. But, and that's actually how I finally got into it, was I was listening to the radio, but I could never figure out, and I called the Chamber of Commerce, I called all kinds of places, no one knew where they met or anything about it. And so one day,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do the research yourself.
That's a pity.
I'm going to leave you.
Oh, okay, no, I'm listening, I'm a participant in this conversation.
It's fine.
I just,
But I can see that you
well, I,
have things to do.
well, no, I can listen and do this stuff. I, that minor degree of multitasking I'm up to.
Bye, Alabama.
this a little bit, I get to set up this, I get to set the stage like I do here, but, I have an open mic, so I ran the soundboard, I queued people up, I worked them in, but I didn't have to set the stage. This is a very small stage setup, but, interesting education. had more bodies, more people who show up, the more vests they could generate. Of course, I run a tiny corner here.